Well, let's do this. Just have your, if you don't have a block and you're using a blanket, just maybe fold it so that it's got some good height to it. Like I would even, like if I was using this blanket, I would probably fold it like that and like that again. We're gonna start on our back, but then what I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna be tucking it underneath your bottom. So, but anyway, and if you feel free to mute yourself or not, it's up to you. And if you're just joining me right now and I've never met you before, welcome. I'm Marta, and this is our yin practice. This is going to be a 1 hour yin practice. So we're going to be doing a couple of restorative postures, and the rest of the postures are going to be getting a little bit deeper into our soft tissue around the joints, and we're going to be working on the hips a little bit, the upper back, and hopefully overall it's just going to help us to rebalance and to find a state of relaxation and equilibrium once again. So begin on your back. Just lie down, have your block or your folded blanket ready. If it feels better for you to have your knees bent, just for now, go ahead and bend your knees, otherwise you can stretch your legs out. Whenever you feel ready, you can close your eyes. And just take a long, slow breath in, just really noticing all the feeling, the experience of filling up. Pause at the top of the breath. See if you can hold that breath just for a few beats here. And then open your mouth. Let it out with some sound, with some sigh. Just kind of letting go of your day. And do that again. Breathe all the way in. Fill all the way up and then pause. Just in a very relaxed way, just retaining the breath. Just that state of being full. And then open your mouth and let it out all the way. Just completely empty that out breath. And let's do that one more time. Maybe expand your rib cage a little bit. And just let that go. And then you can just come back to more of a natural breath. I thought I would begin our practice this evening with just some prose on healing, right? Since this practice is a healing practice, I thought I would share this with you. It's called Healing Happens. The unseen, unloved, unconscious aspects of my being let themselves be glimpsed in dreams and drive my behavior from behind the scenes. They rise into the light only when the time is right, learning to stay still and not react when I am filled with memories or moods that has been a challenge and a choice. Slowly, these inner knots are letting go. Slowly, old conditioning dissolves to leave me freer than before. The mystery calls me forward, and healing happens even when I can't even say for certain what is healed. ask that this practice bring us, each and every one of us, whatever healing it is that we are needing in this moment. That this practice will help us to balance the energy in our system, in our nervous system, and that we can release the physical tension that sometimes builds up to the point where it keeps us from experiencing a feeling of being relaxed. That we can find that state of being fully grounded and relaxed and calm. And let us be very open and present to whatever we may uncover through this practice. Take a moment here, just take your hand, one to the heart, maybe one to the belly. Just gratefully thank yourself for making time for yourself today. Just connecting with your body, with your heart, with your mind. And you can open your eyes, grab your prop. With your knees bent, you're going to take your block, or, like I said, you can use a folded blanket or a firm pillow. And we're just going to take this block, we're going to do a supported bridge. So I have my block on the medium height. You could put it on the lowest height if you want. I find this is just kind of a nice height. You want to put your sacrum on that block. You want to make sure it's just the sacrum, not your lower back, just so that it feels comfortable. It shouldn't feel like it's pinching or anything like that. And if it does, just make some adjustments. Maybe you lower the block, or maybe you just move it slightly. Feel free to keep your knees bent. You might want to walk the feet a little bit further forward so that the ankles are not directly under the knees, but that they're just, out in front of the knees a little ways. Just begin to let yourself settle into that block or that blanket, whatever prop it is that you are using. You might begin to notice just the sensation of your front of your hips. This is a nice release for the psoas and some of the soft tissue around the front of the hip. Particularly lovely after a day of sitting if you've been at a desk all day. Kind of notice the sensation of the energy moving from your lower part of your body as you spend your day upright. All the fluids and the blood kind of pulls down to the lower half of your, the bottom half of your internal organs. And so being just in this gentle inversion is a really nice kind of release and relief. It puts your hips higher than your heart, so it's a good relief for your heart. Your heart doesn't have to work quite as hard to pump the blood when your hips are elevated. Just feel expansion of your belly and your breath, your rib cage as you breathe in. Just allowing yourself as much as you can just to settle as you breathe out. Settle in the energy. Settling your mind. Slowly, bit by bit, just letting the rest of your day, just letting it go. It's becoming fully present for yourself, with yourself. Slowly just lift your bottom just enough to take your prop and set it off to the side, and then slowly come on down. Just pause here for a moment. And just walk your feet out about as wide as your mat. Keep the knees bent. We're just going to take the knees from side to side a few times. So kind of windshield wipering the knees. You can do them in unison, or you can do just one at a time. It's up to you. Just finding a little bit of movement. Okay, next time your knees go over to the left, you're just gonna hold it here. You can kind of press the inner edge of your right foot into the floor, just to energize that right leg a little bit and kind of open the front of that right hip, the quadricep there. And then just letting everything else go, letting your arms just be heavy, your upper back feeling heavy and relaxed. Back to center, and then we'll take it over to the right. So again, just making sure your feet are almost as wide as your mat. Slowly lowering your knees over to the right, so you're resting on the outer edge of your right foot and the inner edge of your left foot. Just let yourself sink into this posture. Letting your hips be heavy. Slowly bring the knees back to center. You can hug your knees into your chest. Hook one arm around the front of each knee. Kind of hook your knees into your crease of your elbows. You can grab one wrist with the opposite hand. And just gently rock from side to side. Just feeling that release through the lower back. Okay, and then come back. You can just roll onto one side to bring yourself up. want to, and you have a blanket, feel free to sit on that as a prop for the time being. All right, so we're just going to do a little bit of movement here for the upper body. So we'll do some holds and some things that we'll get into this upper back area. But to start with, we're just going to warm it up just a little bit. Sometimes movement feels good. The static poses feel really nice, but oftentimes, you can see what I'm doing, I'm just kind of circling. I've got my elbows bent and I'm just almost like I'm taking a kayak paddle and I'm paddling with it. I think sometimes after, a long day, or even if you've just woken up in the morning, just some of that residual stiffness, or maybe you just need to move some of the energy from whatever transpired over the course of that day. Or good. Make sure you go in the opposite direction if you haven't already done so. Do a little backstroke there. So you're twisting that. You're also rotating the chest from side to side as you're doing this movement. Good. All right. And just come back. Let's take the wrists in a few circles. It's a really nice movement to do if you work on a computer, do a lot of keyboarding. Stretch the forearms out a little bit. So just take one hand, fingers down. So you want to turn your hand out this way, fingers out away from you. And then just hold the fingers. Pull the fingers back just to the edge, just where you start to feel that nice stretch in your forearms, your wrist. Let your belly be soft and just breathe here. Very good. And then just make a nice tight fist. Go ahead and roll that fist a few times. And then just give that hand a little bit of a shake. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, you're turning your fingers out this way and down. Use your opposite hand to peel back the fingers. This is a good stretch to do during the day if you start to feel your hands cramping, if you are doing a lot of work on a computer. Or maybe you're just working with your hands and you're shoveling, doing anything like that, cooking, chopping vegetables. This is one of those stretches I feel that you can just do every day. Good. And then release that, make a nice tight fist. Roll your fist a few times. And shake it out. All right, we're going to come into Baddha Konasana. So you can still be sitting on your blanket. Maybe you want to have your feet on the blanket as well, so you can scoot yourself back. And you get to determine where you want to have your feet. You can have your feet in real close, or you can take the feet a little bit further forward so you have a little bit more space here between your ankles and your heels and your groin. You can hold onto the feet or the ankles, or you can just have your hands out in front of you. And just begin by holding on and lifting your chest. Draw your shoulders back. Just kind of feel that right there. And then as we start to fold forward, feel free to release and start to let the back round a little bit as you come forward here. Maybe you bring the hands down to the floor. Maybe you use an option would be to maybe take a block to support for your head. Maybe a bolster, maybe a couple of blocks. You just want to, this pose, just stretch the whole back body. Upper back, or excuse me, the lower back, the hips, like it's too much with just having the knees, if it feels like there's too much tension there, you can always take a couple of pillows or whatever you have lying around and prop underneath the outside of your thighs here, and that'll just support your hips in any way that you need them to. Just imagine your back of your shoulders, the back of your head and your neck just melting, softening here. You might want to let your eyes close and just begin to journey into stillness. Just let the belly be soft. Let your lower jaw go. Just releasing any tension that you find anywhere in your body. Slowly start to ease our way out of this posture. So you can come all the way up to seated, and then just take your hands to the outside of your knees here. We'll just gently bring those knees back together. Okay, we're going to come to stand, and we're going to be doing a forward fold, and because you are at home, you have the luxury of possibly having a chair or side of your sofa or anything that you might want to put your head on. So I'll demonstrate and I'll show you how to do this without a prop, without a chair. And you want to take your feet a little bit wider than your hips, just a little bit. And we want to bend the knees to first begin to come into this posture. Okay? So knees bent as much as you need to. You might even have your belly resting right on top of your thighs. Now, if you want to, if you don't want to get that deep, walk over to your couch, the arm of a couch, or maybe even a cushioned chair, and you can put your forehead and arms on it just like this. So just kind of set your arms, your forehead on there, and that can be a really nice prop for this particular pose. Otherwise, if you want to, really, really wonderful, lovely release for the whole back body here. Just let the arms release down. You can take your hands to your mat if you have blocks or you want to prop hands on blocks. You can do that like this. If you don't want to get quite so deep, you could grab your ankles. Okay. Notice right away the blood moving to your forehead, to the top of your head, and just this wonderful feeling of the belly and the contents of your lower belly kind of moving towards the lungs. Stretching all that tissue from the back of the heels all the way up the back of the calves, the back of the knees, thighs, hamstrings, all along all those muscles and all that fascia tissue and soft tissue along the spine, all the way up to the crown of the head. out of this one, I'm just going to have you slowly lift your head just a little bit. Take your time coming up. If you have your forehead on the edge of your couch or a chair, just slowly, slowly rise back up. And then you can come back to your mat, and you can come to your hands and knees. We're just going to move here just a little bit before we do our next posture. So we'll just take a few cat-cow. Just take your hands a little bit wider than your shoulder, just make some space there. Arcing the back and then rounding the back, the spine. You might want to stretch your chin forward when you're arcing the back and just release some of that tension in the neck. Really tuck your chin and round the back. Maybe even take the hips back slightly as you've got your back rounded there. Okay. So now we're going to come into dragon. You're going to want a blanket for your back and knee. So I like to fold mine, I kind of double it. So I have a nice thick blanket, and I like to get my whole shin, my knee, my shin, my ankle, everything onto that back blanket. All right, take your right foot, and you're going to bring it up so that your right arm is able to rest to the inside. And then what we're going to do is you're just going to slowly start to let the hips come forward. But a nice thing to do here, we did this one last week and I showed it with this prop, and I'm going to show you again, is you can take a block or even a pillow or cushion, bolster, put it underneath that back thigh, your left thigh, and it'll just help support a little bit so that that leg, that hip isn't just completely hanging there. You're still going to get a really, really nice release here. I just find it really nice to have that block there. I find that I can relax a little bit more in the posture, and I think there's more benefit from it if you can really fully relax versus having that feeling of the tension is so great that you're just kind of holding on for dear life, and so you're not really getting the benefits of being able to fully let go. Okay, so you can stay upright like I am right now. You can get down a little deeper. You can always put your forearms on blocks or a bolster. Try to find that sense of softness, that sense of surrender, quality of surrender. Cultivating that even in the face of challenge, in the face of something that feels challenging or difficult. Rather than hardening, becoming resistant, can we become soft? Can we become receptive? Start to run away on you, just bring them back. Just enjoying the freedom that's going to be on the other side of this in this moment of breath. Just enjoying this beautiful opening in the body. like your wrists start to bother you after a while, you can always just take your arms further forward. That'll take some of the pressure off of the wrists. Another thing you can do is make fists. Come up onto your fists for a little bit. Just take a couple more breaths here. Full breath in. Breathe it all the way out. Just let everything go. Gently press your hands into the floor so you're really supporting your hips as you start to ease the hips back. Maybe you roll onto the back of the heel there for a moment. Just kind of enjoy that stretch there, the back of the leg. Good. Circle the ankle a couple of times. All right. And then bring that right knee down. We're going to just switch things up here. So you want to take that prop, your blanket, and we're going to put that over to the right side of the mat. And we're going to bring the left knee up. And if you have that prop for the top of the thigh, slowly start to ease into it. Make sure you get everything kind of adjusted. You can always take your block on a higher height like this too, if you need to. So you can experiment at home. See, for myself, I'm finding on the other side I was able to have it down on the lowest height. Got a little bit of a catch in my hips, so I'm going to just take that block up a little bit higher for this side. It's really about just kind of working with your body right where it's at, with whatever you have going on. Really, I love props, and so learning how to utilize your props, whether it's just something you're using at home, or you've got a block or a bolster. Learning how to support your body so that you can really find that ability to relax in a pose. As we begin to just let go, let gravity do its work. This particular posture, dragon, is, I think, a really important one to do if you spend a good amount of time sitting every day, where we've got our hips in that kind of perpendicular position, and we're shortening all those muscles and all that tissue that are in the hip joint, the psoas, whole area. We want to open that up. We want to do just the opposite. All right, so you want to really press your hands into the floor, right? So you're not just using the hip to bring yourself back. Slowly start to take the hips back. And then you can let your left leg straight, and then you can roll onto the back side of that left heel. Just stretch that out a little bit, maybe circle the ankle. Good, good. All right, let's come back to hands and knees. And you can unfold your blanket, or you can keep it folded if you want. We're gonna do a seated, wide-legged forward fold. So some of you may want to be propped up a little bit higher. You can see for yourself what's going to work best for you. You take your feet out And just go maybe about as wide as you can, and then maybe just dial it back about an inch or so. If you are using the blanket, make sure your whole pelvis is on the blanket so that you're completely supported there. You may want to have props on hand because we are going to be forward folding, and it's nice to have something to rest on. So you're at home, you got maybe pillows on your couch, you could go grab if you need a lot of them, if you realize maybe you're not going to be going down real far. You can use a block for the forehead, you can use bolsters, pillows, you name it. So we're just going to slowly come forward. Just go right to your edge. Take your time finding that. A place that feels where it's like, okay, I'm feeling this stretch, but I can reside here. I'm able to sit with this, even though it's right there. There's some good amount of energy and sensation, and then we want to just bring ourselves into that state of just resting with what is. And it's a really nice idea to put your forehead and prop it on something. A block is a great thing because it's firm. Because then the neck doesn't have to work. We can keep a nice softness in the lower jaw and the neck and the upper back and some of these places where we tend to carry a lot of extra stress. As you are in this pose a little bit longer, you might find that you maybe remove some of the props that you were using in the beginning as you get a little bit deeper. Maybe. Relax your whole back body. Just feeling the breath fill the back of the lungs. Just feeling the little muscles in between the ribs on the back body expand as you breathe in. Time here in this pose for these last few breaths. See if you can flex your feet, your ankles. The legs are a little bit more active. You're pulling the toes back towards the kneecaps. And slowly start to bring yourself back out. Just pause there for a moment. You can just set your hands on your thighs, sit up nice and tall. Just kind of taking it in. Just pausing to simply notice. Resting in stillness. back together here. We're going to come back onto hands and knees. You're going to probably want something for your knees here. Open your blanket, fold it. So this is, in my opinion, I think one of the better poses for the upper back. Just the upper back tension that a lot of us get. So this is Anahatasana, one of my faves. So you're on your knees, you're going to take your hands out in front. Remember, when you come into this, you don't want to have your butt and your hips way out in front of your knees. You actually want to rock your hips back slightly behind the knees so that you can actually really rest in this pose. The forehead comes down. You really want to walk the hands forward, and if you want to walk the hands so they're touching each other, you can. Bring the forehead down. I like to bring the hands closer together because what that does is it causes the upper back, the space between the shoulder blades, to widen. So we kind of open that space between the shoulder blades there. And as you rest here, as you rest your forehead and just kind of start to release and soften your rib cage towards the floor, you want to notice that space between the shoulder blades, the upper back area, and see if you can facilitate the release through that area. If you kind of push, like really push your rib cage almost towards your thighs, towards your knees. Just experiment with it. Be willing to explore while you're in the pose. Just with those little subtle shifts in your position that does to what you're feeling in this stretch. Slowly start to come out of this pose. So just gently bringing yourself up. Maybe moving a little bit, maybe doing a little bit of cat-cow. Probably cat back is going to feel really nice after doing that. And then we're going to come onto our belly. So I've opened my blanket up a little bit just so I can have a little bit of cushion underneath. This one that we're going to do next is strictly for the chest. So the pectoral muscles here across the front of the chest and the front of the shoulders. All right, so I will demonstrate on my right arm first. So on your belly, you're gonna take your right arm straight out to the side. This position can change as you get into it, and this is again where you just wanna explore. So maybe you want to bring the arm up a little bit, you might wanna have a little bend in your elbow or not. So you'll use your left hand on that left side. You can keep your head down. You're just gonna slowly roll onto your right side. You're gonna bend your bottom knee, so the right knee, so that you can have some stability there. You just wanna get that arm into a position where you're feeling the stretch where you need it. I like to get this stretch in the front of the shoulder, but I also really love it if I can access the pectoral muscles and get that nice release across the front of the chest. And this helps to really undo, again, we want to prevent counter poses for the posture that we're in throughout our day. And if we are sitting at a computer or we're driving a car or at our device, we need to get that opened, right? We're always rounding, we're always having the arms out in front of us. Finding that balance. We're going to come out. You can slowly roll back onto your belly here. And you can just pause here for a moment with that right arm just down by your side, so the back of your hands are just resting on the floor. Maybe you want to rest your chin here for a moment. Just take a couple of breaths so you can rest a cheek if that feels better. Take one more big breath in. Let it all the way out. Just let the wind out of your sails. Let's take this over to the other side. Extend your left arm out. And again, this time you're gonna use your right hand. You're gonna roll onto your left side. You're gonna bend your bottom knee. You're gonna find just the right position for that left arm to get the best stretch here. For you, for your body, for your shoulder. If you need to back off a little bit, if you feel like you've gone too far and it's too much, then back off. Go to the place where you're able to comfortably sit with the sensation that you're feeling. Got a certain amount of tension, of course, across the front of the chest and the front of the shoulder. And so we really want to balance that by relaxing everywhere else. Relaxing the rest of the body. Slowly come back onto the belly. And once again, just rest with the arm down alongside of your body. Just giving yourself just a moment here, just to balance. Just be. Carving out little moments in our life, in our practice. For space, for nothing, to let go of our stories, constant chatter in our heads. Slowly chest. Just bring yourself up onto your hands and knees. Again, we're going to still be on this blanket here. You can watch me maybe get into this first. You're going to start with your hands behind you and your feet wide. Okay? I'm going to just move my hips a little bit over to the right because we're going to take the knees to the left. So you're going to come so your right knee is resting right to the inside of the sole of your left foot. And then watch this, your hands are going to come, or your forearms are going to come. I'm going to grab a block just in case. You're going to want to come onto your forearms here. So you want to get your elbows underneath your shoulders. Okay? Keep them there. The block can be nice for the head if you'd like. Good to support. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can walk the elbows a little bit further over behind you to the left. And I find a nice way to intensify this stretch or just take it kind of a little bit further is to turn your head. In this case, you would turn your head over to the left. It's like you're looking over your left shoulder. Just notice how that feels. If you want to take your forehead to a block, you can do that. You can really access a lot in this pose just by playing around with how you're pressing your elbows and your forearms into the floor, how you're weighted left and right. Soft through your belly and through your jaw. It's really nice if you do have your forehead resting on a block, just to open your mouth. Make some circles with your lower jaw. And then just let it hang. Let it go slack. Start to come up and out of this. Take your time. As you come out, just go ahead and kind of spin yourself so you're facing the same way again, within that same starting point for this pose. And we're going to take the knees over to the right. Find that left knee into the sole of your right foot. And we'll come on down onto the forearms, elbows underneath the shoulders. Probably going to notice you're going to be a little bit tighter on one side than the other. This is definitely feeling a lot more resistance on this side than the other side. But, you know, that's just the nature of human bodies. Rarely are we balanced left and right. I've yet to see. I'd love to see somebody that's actually perfectly balanced. I think that's very common. We have our dominant side, our patterns, our habits. The nice thing is this practice that we do is really helpful in undoing and just in helping to maintain more balance in the body. That's why we always do each and every pose on both sides. Give love to any areas of the back or the hips here. Just anything that feels exceptionally tight or cranky, just love on it. Just have compassion. Give yourself some space. to be with it, to be okay with it. We're almost ready to head out of this one here, so go ahead and start to unwind. Come on up. All right. We're going to find our way onto our backs. Feel free to get your props. Grab your bolster if you want to put that underneath the back of your knees. If you want to get a blanket to cover up with. And as you come onto your back, you may want to give yourself a nice little squeeze here again at the end. A little bit of rocking action back and forth. And then stretch your legs out and find a really comfortable place to rest. Props are just the most really lovely for Shavasana. Something underneath the back of the knees can help with tension in the back, and a blanket is just nice if it's chilly in the room that you're in. Make sure that you're comfortable. If you're hot, then shed some clothes. So rest your arms by your side, or maybe you want to bring your hands to your heart and belly again. Just get that sense of being fully connected with your body, with the moment. Just noticing the effects of this practice on not just your physical body, but because we have that strong connection. Noticing your mind, your heart, your emotions. Just let yourself rest in your breath. Just allowing your whole body to melt into the earth underneath you. Of all and any effort. feel like you need a little bit more time and rest right now, please, by all means, remain on your back and enjoy your Shavasana longer. And if you're ready to, you can come up slowly to seated. Let's bring our hands maybe together at our heart if you are seated. And just let's bow to one another, just to honor and recognize each other and just our time spent together in community with one another, which is so, I think, so precious right now at this time, but just that we can still meet and we can still be together. Let us just be grateful for that. I'm so grateful for all of you, and I hope to see you next week. Namaste.